Hello, everyone. Um, this week's topic is security markets. Okay, I'm still not in good shape, but I have to do what I have to do. So I'll do that. Especially today's focus will be margin trading and short sales. Right. I'll leave the all descriptive part to you. Why don't you go over the PowerPoint slide and the textbook e-text, right? So over this security market, primary versus secondary market, right? Auction versus dealers market. Usually auctions market, that is the major exchange market. So American Stock Exchange and the New York Stock Exchange and regional stock exchanges versus dealers market, typically NASDAQ, is the computer system, communication system of like security dealers. That's NASDAQ typically. And here we have two national stock exchanges. It's New York Stock Exchange and American Stock Exchange. We have regional stock exchanges such as Philadelphia, Chicago, Boston, Cincinnati, and San Francisco. NASDAQ electronic dealer system is the whole system of the security dealers. And then the electronical system, the trading system, that's the alternative trading system. All right, before we start margin trading and short sales, let me explain the market order, this order briefly. All right. Suppose the current market price is $25. Let's assume the market, the share price, stock price is $25. Now, there are like four different orders that you or investors send to the broker, okay? So we have limit buy order, limit sell order. Let me explain this here. Limit buy order is this. The current market price is $21. And if the price falls, you see the price decreasing, right? Decreasing. And you send a limit buy order to your broker like this. If the price continued to decrease and hit the $20 limit, then you buy 1,000 shares. So that's the limit buy order. So you ask your broker to buy the stocks when the stock price hit the bottom limit, $20. So the current price is $25, right? If the stock price continued to fall and hit $20, you buy 1,000 shares for me. That's a limit buy order. Or limit sell order is you see price increases, right? So the current price is $25. If the price continued to increase, like if the price hit $28, then you ask your broker to buy 1,000 shares. So this one is the limit sell order, is the order to buy shares when the stock price hit your upper limit, right? So that is the case when the price rises above the limit. Now, stop buy order, stop loss order, right? We'll talk about margin and short sales soon. Usually stop buy orders that comes with short sales. But let me explain this. When short sales is the sales, we'll discuss that, is the short sales is the sales of stocks that you do not have, do not own. Why do you do that? Because you expect the stock price goes up, yeah, goes down in the future. Okay, if you see if you see the stock price goes down, I mean, if you expect the stock price goes down in the future, then what you do is you borrow stocks from your broker and sell it right away. And in the future, when the stock price goes down as you expected, you buy them and deliver these stocks to your broker, and then you get the profit, right? That is short sales. So here, so that was the expectation. The price decrease is expectation. But here, if the price rises, so you did this short sales expecting price increase in the future, but price continued to rise, meaning it goes in the opposite direction of your expectation. So you are bleeding, you are losing money, right? You're losing money. Suppose you short sales at the stock price is $25, then the stock price continued to go up 26, 27, 28. You are bleeding, you are getting lost. So this stop buy order means if the stock price hit $30, then you want to stop the loss, stop bleeding, and then just buy them because you have to return the stocks to the broker. So that is stop buy order, right? Stop buy order. And this one is when the stock price goes down. You have you own the stocks, and the stock price is $25, but it continued to decrease. So you are losing money, you're bleeding. Now you send the stop loss order at $20. That means if the stock price continue to fall like 24, 23, $22, $21, then if the stock price hit $20 and you want to stop your bleeding and sell my stocks, that is the stop loss order, right? So if you put this together, when the stock price hits the lower bottom, lower limit, and you have limit buy order, you stop loss order. When the stock price hit the upper limit, and you have the stop buy order or limit sell order. All right. Margin trading. Okay, margin trading is investing with credit. Easy way is investing with credit. So invest when you invest your money, instead of investing just your money, you can borrow money from your broker. So investing with money borrowed in part from broker. So that is margin trading. So that means if you have like $10,000 and you can also borrow $10,000 from your broker. Of course, you have to pay the interest, and you have to pay it back because it's borrowing. Pay back with interest. So borrowed. There is a term called initial margin. Initial margin is initial margin requirement in your margin account, and then borrowed is 1 minus initial margin. In this one is in percentage. Let's let's talk about this one using this structure. This structure is, as you see, balance sheet approach. This is your asset, this is your liability. This is asset, liability. So, this structure, this system is the one that I developed. I developed this system. You cannot find this system in any textbook. But this system will help you understand the whole procedure quite well. All right, look at this. Initial position at the stock price is $50. Oh, by the way, the margin trading details is this one. Just basic margin trading. You bought 200 shares at the $50 per share, and initial margin account is 50%. That means borrowed, 50% borrowed. So your margin account will include your initial investment and borrowed money. And maintenance margin is $25. That means your margin account, excuse me, when your margin account, the stock price goes down and goes down and goes down, this is the minimum margin account for your margin account. When the stock price hit this margin, maintenance margin, you get a call from your broker, and the broker will ask you to put more money to improve margin percentage from above $25, 25%. So this is the trading details. And initial position, if the price is $50, you invest $10,000. So how many stocks you get? About 200 shares, right? 200 shares. But as you see, borrowed like 50% borrowed, and then your equity is $5,000. So this equity is your initial money, initial capital, and then you borrowed additional 50% here, 50% borrowed, and make it $10,000 investment capital, right? So equity percent is like equity divided by stock value. So in this case, initial case, you're like borrowed, the borrowing rate, this rate is 50%. That means your equity is 50%. So your equity is $5,000 divided by $10,000 is 50%. So wait, 10,000, 5,000, yeah, 10,000, 50%. All right. Now, when the stock price increases to $60 in 1 year, then your stock value, your stock value, total value in your account is 12,000. 12,000. Will be 12,000, and then you borrowed 5,000. So we assume that there's no interest fee or other fees. So let's put it 0. Now then equity is, as you calculate equity in balance sheet, is this asset minus your borrowing, right? So this have 7,000, right? So your equity percent is, margin percent or equity percent is 7,000. 7,000 divided by 12,000, it is 58.33%. So equity percent, the higher the equity percent, the better you are, okay? So your return, stock return is what? Stock return increased the $50 to $60. So let's calculate 60 minus 50 divided by 50. That's the stock return. So it is 20%, right? Your actual return is different. Your actual return, you have to compare your equity, initial equity, and the new equity. That's how you calculate. So here, 7 minus 5,000 divided by 5,000. Here, what do you see there? Your return, your actual return is 40%, which is much higher than the stock return. Actually, double, right? Double. Why do you get this higher return? It's because your investment is investment in credit with borrowing, right? So you have borrowing 50%. It magnifies, it increases your actual return. I think you remember from the Finance 313, the financial leverage effect for the corporation, financial leverage effect. So financial leverage effect is when your company use debt financing, borrowing, debt financing, then that financing that increases or magnifies the company's return, which is the return on equity. So if your company uses 50% the debt financing, your return on equity will be doubled, like this. It is called financial leverage effect. So financial leverage effect that increases your kind of the return volatility increases, and also your return increases your return, maximize your return, right? So it's the same idea. All right. How far can stock price fall before margin call? Now, the margin call is maintenance margin is $25. All right. So you get your margin call when the equity percent is 25%. All right. Equity percent is 25%. So when the stock price goes down and down and down, then if your maintenance margin is 25%, if your equity percent is 25%, then it hits your maintenance margin, and then you get a margin call. Your broker will ask you to put more money to improve your equity percent. All right. Now, suppose the price is P. Price P. Let's calculate stock value minus borrowed minus fee, and we assume fee is 0. Stock value is what? We have 200 shares, so right, 200 shares P minus borrowed is 5,000. So this is your equity divided by your stock value is a 200 P. All right, that is here. Look at this. That is 25%. That is 25%. 0.25. Okay. Now you solve for P. For P. So how do you do that? If you move this one, multiply this way, and left hand side, you have 5,000 is equal to, and this times this one is 50 P. 50P, right? Okay, and if you move this one this way and this one, 150 P is equal to 5,000. So P is equal to equal to 5,000 divided by 150. 33, 33. Yeah. So if the price, you was priced, $50 initially. If price increases, then you will get better. You get you enjoy your return, stock return, and your return will be doubled because of the borrowing is 50%. But if your stock price decreases and decreases, you will suffer. But when the equity percent hit 25%, that means when the stock price decreases down to $33.33, you get the margin call, right? You get the margin call, and then your broker will ask you to put more money. So since we get this stock price, we can complete this, the balance sheet. Yeah. Stock value is $33.53 and times 200 shares. That is your value, right? Stock value. And then actually, this is an approximation. 3 continuous. Borrowed is 5,000. And interest, we assume 0. And then equity is, this asset minus borrowing. There's your equity. So equity percent is exactly 1,000, this one, divided by this one here. So this, 25% approximation, right? Your stock return is $33.33 minus 50 divided by 50 is minus 34%. Then your return, let's talk about your return. This will be interesting. Your equity minus your initial equity divided by your initial equity. See, it's doubled. Okay, it's doubled. So the conclusion about the margin trading is when this price move in your favor, your return will be maximized. But when the price goes in the opposite direction, then your suffering will be doubled there too. Okay, that is about the margin trading. Okay. Now let's include the interest charge with the interest charge. Okay, so everything is the same except interest charge. All right, so here you look at the interest charges. You borrowed 5,000. Oh, let's complete this one. $60 is 12,000, and then borrowed is what, 5,000. And your interest fee is like 5% of 5,000. So you get 5% times 5,000 is $250. So your equity is asset minus borrowing minus interest payable. It is. So your equity is this one here. So equity percent now, no, equity percent is 50% initially. 50%. And when stock price increases to $60, your equity percent is this equity divided by stock value. It is 56.25%. It is not 60% because of this interest charge. Stock return is, $60 minus $50 divided by 50 is 20%. Your return is, I told you, compare your equity versus your initial equity. Your initial equity is this one here, 35%, right? See, used to be 40%, but 5% went to as the interest charge. So you have 35% remaining. Now let's make it more realistic here. More realistic. Margin trading. You buy a 100 shares is a round lot. It's a unit size of FI incorporation stocks on 55% margin. 55% margin. 55% margin. That means borrowed is 1 minus 50%. Borrowed is 50% means 55% means 45% is your borrowing, right? 45% is your borrowing, right? Broker charges 5% annual interest rate, and commission 2% of your total stock value on both the purchase and the sales, right? 1 year later, you receive the 50 cents per share dividend and sell the stocks $27. And what is your rate of return on the investment? Okay, all right. So initially, it is $20, for 100 shares. So $2,000 is your total market total asset value. And borrowed is, as I said, 45%, right? 45% times $2,000. Wait a second. Yeah. So $900 borrowed, and equity will be this 2,000 minus $900. Okay. Now, new position. When the stock price increases $20 to $27, right? Stock value is $27, and it says dividend. Okay. First, borrowed is 45% times. So 5% times 2,000. So it is, wait a second, no. Number 900 is borrowed, and interest charge is at 5%, right? Yeah, 5% times interest charge is $900. So interest charge is $45. Commission is 2% of total stock value on both the purchase and sales. This is a round trip, right? So it's 2% times $2,000 plus $2,700, and the 2% is charged on both the round trip. So $94 is the commission. Dividend is 50 cents for 200 shares. So we have $100. So we got this. So when you have this question, like put this one in here and then solve those questions there. That will help you. Stock value is 2,700. Just a moment. So dividend is $100, right? $100. And then borrowed money is 900. And the interest charge and commission, the total is 139. So $139. And then equity is again asset, right? This plus this asset minus this liability and this liability, like interest payable, fee payable. So that is your equity, right? That is your equity. So here, your equity percent is 1109 divided by 2000 is 55%. I told you there's a 55% margin. And this one, equity, new equity is equity divided by your stock price, stock value is 65.22%, right? That's your new, the equity percent or margin percent. Your return is, as I said, your equity to equity. Equity minus equity, all the equity divided by all the equity. It is 60%, right? 60.1%. That is your return. Stock return is, let's calculate stock return. Just for reference. 27 minus 20 divided by 20, right? There is your stock return, 35%, right? Stock return is 35%, your actual return is 60%. Without this interest charge or commission, your return is supposed to be 70%. But because of this interest and commission, the actual return is 60%. Okay? All right. Okay. If the margin requirement is 25%, you deposit $30,000 in your margin account, and then and then stock price is $40. How many shares can you get with maximum allowable margin? I think this one is one of your example, one of your questions, I think. All right. All right. Okay, to solve this here, your margin requirement. Your margin requirement is your initial margin. Your initial margin is 25%. 25%. Initial margin is 25%. Then your borrowing is 75%. Okay, 75%. So you have $30,000 initial money. You have initial money, and then this borrowed money is 3 times, right? So this one times 3 is $90,000. So your margin account is 25%, and your initial capital is 30,000, and then here the initial margin 25% and 30,000. That means 75% is 1 minus 25% is borrowed. And if you turn that into like dollar money, it's 90,000. All right. Now, if the stock price is $40, stock price is $40. Now, with that money, the total amount of money is this one plus this one here. total amount of money, including your capital and borrowed capital, is $120,000, right? And then if the stock price is $40, then how many shares do you get? And simple. Divided by this there. Oh, this is not a dollar. This is a number. Okay. So 3,000 shares is the amount that you can get, right? 3,000 shares is the amount of shares. Is the amount that you get. Interesting, right? So margin trading 25%, that means, borrowed 75%. That means if you have the $30,000 initial capital, and then you borrowed is 50,000, 90,000, total $120,000. If the stock price is $40, then how many shares can you get with maximum allowable margin? 30,000 shares, which is like 120,000 divided by 40,000. That gives you 300,000 shares, 3,000 shares. All right, next one is short sales. Briefly introduce this short sales. It's basically short sales is you sell something that you don't have, right? Why do you do that? You expect the price will go down. All right, yeah. The first step is you if you if you send your short sales order, then that means this is the detailed step that's happening. Borrow stocks from other investors through broker and post margin. That means your broker will borrow stocks from other investors, and broker sells stocks immediately, and sale proceeds and your margin are deposited and recorded. Cannot withdraw this one until covered, until everything is settled. And then later on in the future, covering or closing out position, meaning buy stocks back and return those to the brokers. After you do this, and then everything is settled and closed. All right, let's do a couple of stocks, a couple of examples. Short sales. Now, you short sell 1,000 shares of C3 Incorporation at $80. Initial margin required is 50%. That means borrowed 50%, right? We did that. Maintenance margin is 25%. Let's analyze this one here. Initial position, it says, brokers will sell the stocks and sales proceed, and the margin are immediately deposited. That means here, sales proceed, and you sell these stocks. These stocks are the stocks that are borrowed from other investors through broker. So your broker will do this everything. Sell these stocks, 1,000 shares at the $80. That 80,000, that is your sales proceed initially, right? Initial margin account is 50% of this one here. So you have to put money 50% of your sales proceed. So this $120,000 you cannot touch until this one is closed out. Okay, so stock owed $8,000 you borrowed, equity is $40,000. Stock owed means the whole thing is borrowed from your investments from other investor. So equity percent is, if you calculate this one, is 50%, right? 50%. Right here, when the stock price increases to $90 in 1 year, then this initial sale proceed and initial margin stays the same. But the value, stock value um, increases. So $90,000, right? $90,000. So equity percentage is what if you can dividend piece, we just assume that is the zero, and equity percentage again, equity percentage asset asset oops, asset minus liability. There you have $30,000, right? Equity percentage is 30,000. This 30,000 divided by stock value. I told you stock value. So 90,000 there. 33.33%. So when stock price increases, you get worse. Your equity percentage 33.3%. You get worse. So it's because the whole thing is based on your expectation that stock price is going down, but it moved in the opposite direction. See that? That's your bleeding there. Your return is what? Your return is your equity minus original equity divided by your original equity. It is what? Minus 25%. That is your return. Your return on this short sales. Now, if the stock price goes down to $70 in 1 year, this is good news for you, right? Then stock owed is 70,000, right? And then equity is asset minus liability, $50,000, right? Equity is $50,000 divided by the stock value. It is 71.43%. You are much better off now, right? Better off. Your return, if you calculate your return, is a $50,000 minus 40,000 divided by $40,000. It is 25%. 25% return, right? That's your actual return. Now, how far can stock price increase before margin call, right? Before margin call. All right. Let's see the stock price is P, as I said. When stock price goes up to $90, your equity percent is 33.3%, which did not hit your margin, the interest margin yet. So you will not get any call from your broker yet. All right. Now let's find out what is the stock price that at which you get your margin call from your broker. All right, let's calculate this one here. So asset is this one here, right? Asset is this one, and minus the liability, stock value, liability divided by stock value is 25%. I told you this one is the equity percent. So what you do is 80,000 plus 40,000, 80,000, right? And that is your asset now. Asset now minus stock value is 1,000. P, that is your equity divided by 1,000. P, that is your what? 1,000 P. That is your margin percent, equity percent there, right? So that is 0.25%, 0.25% there, 25%. Now you solve for P there. So let's solve this one here. Now 120,000 minus what 10,000 1,000 P is equal to, if you multiply this one this way, 250 P. Now, if you move this one to the other side, then you have 120,000 is equal to 1,250 P. And then P is 120,000 divided by 250. Those or wait, 1,250. 1,250. 1,250. You have $96 there. You see that? When the stock price continued to increase and hit $96, that will hit maintenance margin. Maintenance margin 25%, and that is the time when you get the margin call from your broker, and then you have to put more money in your margin account to improve your margin percent, equity percent. All right, let's add some more realistic assumption there. Now suppose broker will charge interest 8% for the loans. I mean $80,000 loans, right? $8,000 loans. This loan you have to charge 8%. All right. And there's a dividend there. Dividend, interest charge, dividend. Think about this. Interest charge will interest payable. Dividend, when you buy stocks, dividend was your asset. But when you short sell stocks, dividend is the liability. That means you have to return this dividend when you return shares. So this one is liability this time. Okay, get it? So initial position is $80, $80,000, $80. Then the sales proceeds is 80,000, and since your margin required is 40%. Oh, it's different. Okay, 40%. That means here your margin, initial margin is 40% of the sales proceeds value. It is, oops, where is it? What? Yeah, 40%. 40% of this one, 32,000 is your initial margin this time in this example, and equity is also 32,000, because this one minus this one, 32,000. All right, equity percent, 32,000 equity divided by stock hold. It is 40%. It is 40%, right? Initial margin required is 40%. That's the 40%. Now, when the stock price decreases to $70 in 1 year, then initial margin is 32,000, right? And stock owed, when stock price decreases 1,000 shares. So here 1,000 shares times $70. It is 70,000 is your stock owed. Now, dividend, it is $2 per share. So $2 per share, how many shares? 1,000, right? So 2,000 is your dividend payable. You have to pay. This one is liability. Now, fees is interest charge, right? 8% times 8% times here you borrowed like one minus 8,000, so Let's calculate this one here. Oops. How much borrowed? 60% is borrowed, right? And it is 80,000. 80,000. Okay. So 48,000 is 60% is borrowed. So interest fee is 8%. 8% times borrowed is there 48,000. 48,000 is that's interest charge for you. Okay. Remember, to buy this $80,000, the stocks, you borrowed $48,000. It is your initial margin, 40,000. Borrowed is 60% or 40%, and borrowed 60%. 60% of your initial stock owed. So that is borrowing. So that's why you have to use that number to calculate this one. 80% of this one, that's interest charge. And equity, how do you calculate that? Asset minus liability and liability. It is your equity. It is equity. Now, let's calculate equity percent, margin percent. This one is divided by this one is pretty good, right? Pretty good. Your initial, the margin was 40%. Now it's 51.7%. That's good. Your return is your equity minus all the equity divided by all the equity. It is your return 13%. Not bad. Not bad. Okay. So this is how to incorporate all this your fees and dividends and interest charge that here in your process and calculation. But let's make it a more realistic here. We have short sales. You sell short. You short sell. You sell short 100 shares of CHF Incorporation when it is selling at $56. $56. Your margin requirement is 45%, and the commission is 155. Now this time the commission is fixed commission, and while you are short this stock, CHF pays a dividend $2.50 50 cents per share. Now I told you when the short sales, the dividend payout is your liability that you have to return. At the end of 1 year, you buy 100 shares at $45 to close out your position. So the price actually decreased. That's your favorite direction. And charges a commission of 145. Okay, again, a fixed commission, and then 8% interest charge on the money borrowed. What is the rate of return on this investment? Okay, we did this one here. All right, your initial position at the $56, then 100 shares. So sales proceed for selling 100 shares at the $56 is 5,600, right? So that's $56 times 100 shares. That's initial margin percent is 45%. 45% times this one. Sales proceed. Oops, 45%. 45% there. And stock owed and equity is this one. Initial percentage is 45%. So you have to have 45%. This one divided by this one is 45%. Okay. Now, in 1 year, the stock price decreased down to $45 in 1 year. So it's in your favorite, right? In your expected 1 year. So borrowed is how much? Borrowed, as I said, 45. So it is 1 minus 45% is borrowed, right? 45%, which means 55% is borrowed, right? It is borrowed. So, the amount is 55% times your initial, like the stock owed. This one, this is $3,080 is the borrowing. So your interest charge will be, what is that? 8%. 8% times your borrowing is $3,080. That is your interest charge. All right. Dividend is $2.50 times how many shares? 100 shares. It is $2.50. $250, right? Commission is like fixed commission. 155 plus 145 is the fixed commission. $300. Make it $2 there. So we have this. We got this. So sales proceed and initial margin is the same, stays the same. You should be there until everything is closed out. Stock owed when stock pricing decreases of $45, and $45 times 100, that is your stock owed. Dividend payable is 250, right? 250 $250. And then fees is interest charge and the commission, right? So this one is interest charge plus commission there. And equity is asset minus liability. Oops, what did I do? Asset, liability, yes. And also another liability is this one here. That's your equity, right? That is your equity. So equity percent is equity divided by stock value here. So 62.75 is higher than your initial. Looks good. So, your return will be, as I said, you have to compare equity versus equity. Initial equity, and it is 12%. That's your return. Oh, not bad. Okay. It happened, your positive return happened because stock price moved in the direction that you expected. Means go down, right? All right. So again, this like balance sheet approach, this structure, you don't find in any textbook, because this one I developed. And then as you see, it's very consistent and it is very easy to understand. Very easy to understand the entire picture. You see that, right? Okay. So why don't you go through all the procedure on the market margin trading and short sales before you tackle your homework assignment and quiz, okay? And this one will help you. All right, I'll see you next week, okay?